艦敵陣形の先端部にピンポイント攻撃をかけろ。
いいか、分散しろ。後輩に敵です。攻撃される恐れがあります。
何？後輩というとどの程度の距離だ？時間的距離で出して
推定接触時間およそ3時間後。
では2時間で敵を破り1時間で逃げ出すとしようか。そんなわけで攻撃を強化、敵をブラックホールに追い落とす。
バルキューレを出せ。重力を見ろ。加速ベクトル後ろ。エリエンジン全開。ダメです。助けてくれ。引きずり込まれる。
コッコ。
全艦4時方向に転進せよ。シュワルツシュルト半径ギリギリの線に突進し、双曲線軌道に乗せて艦の水力に勝る加速を得て脱出するのだ。ブラックホールを利用したスイングバイですか。そうだ。しかしそれでは敵の攻撃に対して無防備になります。やむを得。このままでは敵の集中砲火とブラックホールに挟まれて全滅させられる。それよりは確かに全艦右翼回答最大戦速。
思い切った手を打つな。
後方の艦隊70万キロまで接近。機関確認。戦艦ガルガ・パルムル。
連綿艦隊将の機関です。
ああ、ミスター連綿か。
前方の敵はすでに回走状態にあります。予定通りこのまま直ちに戦場を離脱しますか。
敵が射程距離に入る直前に主砲を3連制し、その後でライガール成形方面へ逃走する。ただしゆっくりと、しかも整然と。
敵艦隊回走していきます。逃がすな。最大戦速。4番手全艦一旦交代。距離を保て。
よし、今だ。全艦隊反転して攻撃。
下がれ。全艦交代して陣形を立て直せ。
3月2日13日、半ば回走状態の連綿艦艦隊がようやく秩序を回復した時、ヤン艦隊は今度こそ本格的に逃げ去ってしまっていた。
Yang said Mr. Lenin, but he kind of looks more like Stalin. Anyway, you guys have anything to say about that?
Well, just to re-emphasize the point I had made earlier, during that scene that you just watched, how many ships were destroyed? 10 tops? Let's say, okay, 15, 20. How many lives is that translated to?
Millions of lives were lost.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that just exactly that proves my point. That why would you need to put thousands of people on a ship when, if you lose one ship, you lose thousands of lives because you're essentially not worth much.
So there's an abundance of people in the universe at this point. Anything to say? So what you heard in that piece was Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, the second movement and the fourth movement. But all throughout the series, you hear really masterworks from Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and Gustav Mahler, and more. All of whom were masters of Sturm und Drang. This is a German word, storm and stress, the romantic style of exciting music that rips your heart out and puts it back. Especially Mahler, Mahler was a great influence to the likes of, now I'm forgetting his name, John Williams of Star Wars fame, as far as soundtrack composition is concerned. So rather than having a new soundtrack composition for LOGH, they just went straight to the old masters, which I think is another piece that makes this series stand out so much. So you're probably wondering, okay, how would one go about watching Legend of Galactic Heroes? The best way to do so, actually it's important to note it's never been brought to the US, or to the western part of the world at all. It originally came out on light discs. It's, I think they had it late. sorry. Light's a laser, laser's a light. So, the first thing to watch would be My Conquest is the Sea of the Stars, which is an hour-long pilot movie for the whole series, made in '88. It has a really neat battle that takes place in a gas giant planet. It is also the only LGH entry to have been dubbed, and it's in French.
It was released on DVD, I got it.
Cool. That's a special thing. Next up would be Overture to a New War, which is essentially the first 3 episodes in a movie format.
First 2 episodes.
It's about 3, eh?
It's the 2 first episodes extended.
I thought it contained some material from the 3rd, but perhaps you are correct, sir. And then, of course, oops, I went forward. Then there's the meat of the story, the 110 episodes made between '88 and '97. Towards the end, they started to remake some of the earlier episodes because the animation became dated, but this is the meat of the story. I took 6 months to watch LOGH. Some people watch it in a couple of days. I don't know how you can do that. A couple of weeks, a couple of months. Then there are a handful of episodes, about 50 prequel series that really go into depth about where the main characters came from, what are their backstories behind the main meat of the series. Then there's also Golden Wings, which is a little bit strange. Actually, I haven't watched it. And then this is all based on Yoshiki Tanaka's original novels on LOGH, which are hard to find in English, perhaps somewhere on the net. But it was announced recently that a new Legend of the Galactic Heroes would be created, and it was going to be done by 2 studios, Kyoto Animation and Shaft. How is this going to work? I don't know how this is going to turn out.
It's not a job.
I mean, I would have thought that a group like Zebek would have been better for something. Like they did a pretty good remake of Space Battleship.
Just get back hard, man.
Yeah, right, but so no, it's Kyoto Animation and Shaft. We'll see how Moe Ugu LOGH turns out to be. I'm a little bit terrified, but of course I'm excited to see.
Think about the hair flips, though.
That's true. As long as it's accompanied by a good neck tilt, right?
Yeah.
When was this news released?
It was this year.
I know that they were, but the studio over there, anything about
I'm pretty sure I read it at least like 3 or 4 months ago. So yeah. So I think that transitioned us pretty well into the lighter side of Legend of Galactic Heroes, of which there is very much to discuss. Perhaps one of the most iconic macros or memes, if you will, that appears on the internet is Siegfried Kierkegaard's statement to his buddy Reinhard, "Are you frustrated?" To which this became this. That MS Paint tool. There's a lot of frustration all throughout the series. A lot of examples of this kind of thing. I mean, it spawned the whole "you mad" with the like face thing for the rest of the internet. There's a lot of, in LOGH, lines that are taken out of context that seem a bit strange. You understand words. You may have killed millions of people, but at the very least you made me happy. Dogs eat dog food. As for cats, one has to feed them cat food. You had something fun to do?
Oh yeah, there is. If you'd like to make a drinking game out of LOGH, I invite you to take a shot every time some giant catastrophe happens to Hyannisinopolis, the capital city of Free Planets Alliance. Because someone will drink tea in the Galactic Empire, and on Hyannisinopolis, a sewage main will burst and 10 million people will die. It's a recurring theme, and just how often this disaster happens to Hyannisinopolis and how many people decide to choose to live through all these disasters is pretty comical.
You know, there are a lot of really funny characters in LOGH, even if they're not trying to be funny. Like Admiral Bittenfeld. Just the force of his personality is very strong, but there's one out-of-context line that perhaps trumps them all, as Bittenfeld, despite knowing that it's a trap, chooses to make a forceful breakthrough. There's also Louis Mashenko.
Yes, that's right.
There's a couple of sequences in LGH where Yang forgets Petty Officer Louis Mashenko, and it gets translated in an awkward way that sort of has unfortunate implications.
So the translations for these are done by Central Anime, and you can find them in torrents online, and I think they're on YouTube now too. But they did a fantastic job for the most of it, and then it's like you come across stuff like this, and it's like, how did this happen?
What is that? What do you mean, what is that? That's Petty Officer Louis Mashenko. I know that. Why is he on the ship? There's a couple of things. Another one was here, and even more than instrumental music, he loved the Castoretic Choir. Castoretic Choir comprised of young men who had endured castration to preserve the boyish voices.